Okay, we're back. So this is part 2 or segment 2 of recording today, May 1 to May 3rd. So I'm just going to preface, in case you didn't watch the first one, which is totally fine, but I encourage you to, the connection here between the Gospel of Mary Magdalene and my expression of the Gospel of Mary Magdalene in my life, just as an example and a way to make concrete this teaching that I've been receiving and that I think a community of people in Susquehanna Alchemy have been receiving in ceremony this past week. And so I'm just going to read to you from the text here. Then Mary arose, embraced them all, and began to speak to her brothers. Do not remain in sorrow and doubt, for his grace will guide you and comfort you. And so first, let me just say as a reminder, I am studying and taking in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene as one avenue, as one way to integrate goddess culture into my heart and mind and life, because I grew up with the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And so this one is considered Gnostic and is not included. And so this is my cosmic way of taking this kind of war between the god and goddess and this separation without allowance of weaving between the two, and using my microcosm to bring the god and goddess inside me as both being a source of nourishment and love. And that's why I'm studying the Gospel of Mary Magdalene. And so here, do not remain in sorrow and doubt, for his grace will guide you and comfort you. And I love how this commentator honors the essence of the divine feminine in his commentary. And what he, through his commentative help, what I gathered is that it doesn't say that you're not allowed to feel sadness. It says, do not be sad. And I use this in my relationships and with myself, of the difference between embodying and holding on to an energy, which is sometimes helpful and useful, versus sitting with and feeling that energy and allowing it to move. And it might mean moving out of you, it might mean moving through you, but feelings, energy is not meant to be always held onto. Sometimes we hold it to achieve a task. Sometimes we hold it as part of a tool or mechanism to actually allow that energy to do something through us. But overall, look at the realm. Energy moves, electricity flows, current in the river, current just happens, it just goes. Okay, so point established. So it says, do not be sad, which is basically saying, don't always hold on to your feelings. Because some versions of holding on to our feelings look like repression, look like, I'm actually going to not allow this feeling into my field, but it is in my field, so I'm just going to always hold it right here, which is heavy, because then as you cast it from being in the shade for a moment, sometimes it's like, hold on, I'm in this certain space and I can't allow this energy to come through me right now, but I'm aware that it's here. When I get home, I'll cry it out in the bathtub. That's a silly example. Well, not silly. It's a small example. But versus, I am never going to acknowledge this feeling is here. That feeling is not going to go away. It's going to go underground in your being. And it's going to move from just being in the shade to becoming shade or shadow itself. Which is a whole other thing I'm not going to get into, but there is a huge difference between shade and shadow in nature. Maybe I'll do a video about that, but I just wanted to be clear here because I know there's a lot in shadow work, and there's a lot of spiritual teaching and practices that are dishonoring the natural spiral dance of light and dark in that body. So that's all I'm going to say on that for now. And so when, so, be sad, but don't hold on to it. It's not saying don't feel your feelings. It's saying don't become your feeling, which also means like don't repress it and allow it to take root inside of you, because that's going to lead to an internal split, which then says, the commentator says, in that split, once again, harmony is shattered, and there is an anguish and war between the human being and his or her self-image, and then therefore throughout all of the realm. So for me, I was like, oh, that's so simple to see the realm and all of the anguish and strife and war through that lens. It all just starts here in each one of us as an individual microcosm of the entirety of what's happening, quote, out there. It's actually, it's here that it's begun and started. And so the gospel goes on to say, instead, let us praise his greatness, for he has prepared us for this. He is calling upon us to become fully human, anthropos. Thus Mary turned their hearts toward the good, and they began to discuss the meaning of the teacher's words. So as long as we are able to praise God for being good, whether manifest or unmanifest, the seeds of peace will be able to grow in us. And now there's lots of ways to take this. This is the commentator's words. I like this, that praise, like worship, is a silent, worship being a silent praise. Praise is just simply a way of restoring things to their proper place, of reconnecting with the sense of value and discrimination as to what is truly essential for our life and what is not. This is the practice of what's in my field, what energy is circulating, when and how am I going to bring it through, when and how am I going to hold it and then release it, not releasing it to get it out of me, but releasing it because, like, okay, I'm at peace with it. It is planted in me and it's transformed in the earth soil of me and is coming through as a totally brand new creation. I think that's the essence of transmutation of an energy. And I think that's the magic of feelings, is that when we bring praise, honor, acceptance, sitting in silence and worshiping the goodness of it all, the dark and the light, the negative emotions and the positive emotions. And we just sit and we praise that as an experience, and we give it that silent return to this is good. This dualism is a magic, right? When we can do that, it is the kind of like practice of integration and the tools that we already have naturally built into us to plant seeds of creation. And they're all the seeds, all the feelings are an essence of creation. They are all a fractal rainbow of life force. And life force can come through in every single color, every single feeling, light and dark. The ancients, this is the commentator, the ancients sometimes said that the worst sin is ingratitude, which is a forgetting of the greatness, beauty, truth, and goodness of the source, or of just life force, of eros, the vitality for life, whether it's coming through as frustration and anger or as joy and elation. The goodness of the source that is constantly creating us. In other terms, a forsaking of being and a forsaking of the good. And so by casting out, the feelings that are uncomfortable to feel, we are forsaking our being. And we are actually, because we think that's the good thing sometimes. We think like, okay, don't feel anxious, don't feel nervous, don't feel sad, because it says don't be sad. No, no, no. It's saying do not be sad. If you do not need to continue to embody sadness all of your days, and especially if you're repressing it, you are becoming it in your most invisible space, which is the most dangerous. Bring your night vision goggles, be it, and then allow it to move. Feel it. Feel it and allow it to guide you in how it can best utilize your vessel to move. And that might be anchoring it deeper for transmutation. That might mean anchoring it in the vibration of your molecules to achieve to achieve a task, or to speak, or to write, or to see something. And then once you see it, now that energy has moved through your eyes and it circulates back as something different. So I just want to repeat this. The worst sin is ingratitude, according to the ancients, which is a forgetting of the greatness, beauty, truth, and goodness of the source that is constantly creating us. Source is constantly creating us. For all of that being masters of the land and all of our domination culture, we are actually the ones being mastered and being created constantly. The trees and the plants are actually creating us. And it is only in our lack of appreciating, respecting, and honoring this mutual process of tending and stewardship, and then being created by the elements through the matter of our being, and even more etherically, or from a higher perspective, source, like the source of all energy that animates us. It's constantly creating who we are. And it's coming through sometimes as this rainbow of colors, which is feelings. And so, this is Loved by the Water. And I'm about to show you how MoonLitMind is an example of this teaching in my own personal process. And then right here, Source is constantly creating us is what I'm calling mastered by motion. And mastered by emotions, mastered by the feelings that are coming into our field. And here is the becoming fully human that I would like to, that I love to kind of therapeutically coach people with, therapeutically coach people through and be with them in sitting with that, wow, I'm feeling so insecure. Yeah, you are. That's great. Feel that feeling. Sit with it. Allow it to speak to you. One of my favorite singer-songwriters, Fia, has this mantra: sit with your pain, cradle it close, lean in and listen. Take it slow. Second verse, sit with your pain, cradle it close, and when you're ready, let it go. And that might be letting it go through words, letting it go through writing, letting it go through an activity. You get the point. So, MoonLitMind. This is a zine, and it is a audio, video, interview, and community course that can be found on my Patreon called Loved by the Water. And I just wanted to share that MoonLitMind, as a personal example of this teaching I've been working through. MoonLitMind, the seeds of MoonLitMind in me come from I've identified 3 seeds. I first started kind of with the why out here, and I traced it back to what is the seed or root of that why? And here are the seeds. 1, I was sad and tired. I was feeling sad and tired. 2, I was feeling tired of feeling frustration and strife. 3, I was aware of the feeling of lingering despair and dismay. So these are the seeds, and these are the feelings, that the labels that I'm giving to these seeds. And again, we call an acorn seed an acorn, but the seed doesn't call itself an acorn. It's just a bundle of life force energy with all this amazing coding that's going to become a whole huge freaking tree. Like, that to me is so mysterious and amazing. And so these little bundles of energy in motion in me, these feelings, I can call them whatever I want. At their root, they are a color or fractal of life force, eros energy. And I am calling them these things and honoring them and allowing them to continue. Like, yeah, those are the seeds of my creation. And I'm okay with that, because those seeds that felt uncomfortable, sad, tired, frustration, strife, they felt uncomfortable. But as I sat with them, as I planted them, integrated them into my body and held them and loved them and nourished them, MoonLitMind is what came through. You know, I just finally allowed the full completion of the feeling and energy to move through me. And so, what was I sad and tired about? Well, I was sad in regards to my experience, friends' experience, women who I was working with, our disconnectedness from our menstrual cycles, our disconnectedness from the immense sacred power of bleeding, and our womb ability to create, and specifically around abortion and how it gets turned into some kind of political thing. It is such an immensely personal, and on the individual singular woman level, it's like a reminder of how cut off we have become over time with our womb space and our sovereignty in our womb space and the power of our womb space and all that that entails. Working with herbs, working with rhythms of the moon, working with our partners, and awareness of like our fertility and our the different energies that move through us. Yeah, so I got sad and tired of hearing story after story of, you know, women like myself stepping into primal rhythm, respect, and honor of the body, putting aside birth control, which is totally an operative to, you know, crush a woman's hormonal system and disconnect her from the primal embodied rhythms. If you're someone that uses birth control, there is a place for it, but also, or I should say, and also, the larger macrocosm, this is a dark space, and so we need to be careful with our use of birth control, because overall, the history of birth control is, it's really dark. And darkness isn't bad. It's not bad. It's just, put your night vision goggles on. So, you know, this experience, which generated the feeling of sadness and just being tired of hearing the same thing over and over, I said, okay, how can I bring up and out the primal embodied wisdom to guide us, to lead us into celebration, and to integrate the woman's most sacred experience and make it tangible and make it fun and visually stimulating and, you know, like, return a normalcy and give some more tools to encourage this process of, yes, like, I know it hurts when you fall flat on your face because you were doing, you know, you were using herbal birth control remedies, or you were using a natural rhythmic cycle to be aware of your fertility, and then, you know, an unintended spark of energy came through, and it is in a woman's sovereign womb power to transmute that knowing in her higher self, you know, if that's where and how that spark moves in her. And then, you know, taking that, dragging that out into like the political, like, I just can't even go there. But I got tired of seeing that same thing happen again and again. And from that tiredness came this inspiration and creation of MoonLitMind, providing tools, providing thought forms, providing some encouragement and some space to be like, okay, like, you know, pick yourself up and love and honor when you fall flat on your face, and coming back into being a part of this complex natural system of a body that bleeds. And there are more resources, there are more spaces to come back into source, resource again, you know, to come back again to this well of energy and source that we are. And we can do so through jewelry and through conversation, through integrating our partner. There's so much more, right? Like, I tried something, my friends have tried things, and it failed. You know, it failed, right? Like, it didn't do what we wanted it to do. And sometimes that comes with like, oh, wow, I can't trust my primal rhythms, my primal life force energy. And so I wanted to bring this zine and this journey and this course forward as just another encouragement to say, yes, we can. And we can invite more tools and more into our lives and our partners and our relationship with partners and communities to invite it in again and again and again. No matter what happens, this is a worthy and important seed. It is a worthy and important journey to come back into full integration with full integration and purity of the bleeding and womb. And men have the hara, so the power of the womb. Okay, and so I just want to keep moving for sake of time. I want to keep this under a half an hour. Another seed that MoonLitMind came from is frustration and strife. Just this, God, like relationships. My God. Is it worth it? You know, from an early age, pre-college. Now, maybe college is where I started noticing being fully feminine or a woman was really hard in relationship. And I just couldn't understand why. There seemed to be no solutions. There seemed to be something about my hormones and my flow of energy that cyclically caused problems. And so just a lot of frustration and relational strife. And so from that, in MoonLitMind, you know, I provide specifically a thought form based on the traditional native medicine wheel to put blood and moon back at the center of relationship between men and women, between women, in the community. How can we think? How can we feel in our bodies? How can we move with this in our spirits? How can we invite through all of the separate aspects of our being, invite into totality the blood and the moon and the blood? How can we bring those back into and infuse them throughout? Because they are infused throughout all body, mind, heart, and soul, spirit. They are. But we can begin to bring awareness and honor to that and allow that energy to not stay dormant, but to allow it to move through the ways that we communicate with our partner, through the ways that we think and feel through this special energy as a female body, and then how it also affects and has a real interdependence upon the male body. So that's all presented in the zine, so I won't go into it, but I will just say that the seed was frustration and strife. I call it that, but that seed whatever color it was, whatever color I call it, its base is life force energy and source. And so I honor and appreciate the strife and the frustration, and I feel those, and I'm going to keep feeling those, because I know that in the power vessel of my being, I can transmute them into ongoing inspiration to bring this forward for couples, for men and women, for women and women, and for communities, to have thought forms or frameworks to bring this sacred womb uterus experience into integration in the earth journey and in the cosmic journey in our relationship with the moon, and how the moon is for everyone, men and women. And lastly, the seeds of despair and dismay, those feelings were in response to, or coming through me in, as my eyes, and therefore maybe mind, were seeing a lack of the sacred, a lack of respect for the primal in us, and also feeling a general disgust with decorum, and how decorum is like ritual, but totally like sapped of the sacred. So yeah, no sense of ritual and like a high sense of decorum in some spaces, right? Like, but it's like kind of feels insidious in our culture. And that, through MoonLitMind, through the creation of the zine and my desire to coach women, couples, and communities in the journey and the course of MoonLitMind with the audios, videos, and the zine itself, came this appreciation and this desire to guide and facilitate slowing down. And this dismay showing me that there is a way to live in the truest, realest paradigm that this realm offers, which is steeped in the sacred, where ritual facilitates the fountain of the sacred every day. And every day we have these bodies and these hormones, and for women, this like glaring, obvious red flow. And we can invite men and other women into that, which invites us into a very true and real experience of this realm. And it infuses the sacred back into our fully human experience. And if you're not with a body that bleeds, there is the moon, which is a cosmic symbol of the womb and the bleeding through its dark moon to full moon motion. So those are the seeds of MoonLitMind. And I hope that was a demonstration, is my intention that this is a demonstration of call the seeds of your creation whatever you want. When you allow the integration and the seed to go down deep into the rich darkness of your belly, with full acceptance, inclusion, knowing, feeling, sitting with, and seeing the feeling, right? I'm not saying like, oh, just bury it, right? When we allow it to gestate, no matter what that feeling is or was, what's negative or positive, it comes through and it transmutes through this living, live being vessel that we are as a creation, as something new. And that creation, the MoonLitMind zine, the MoonLitMind, journey, coursework, coaching, I hope I will always honor the feelings, the seed feelings that are considered uncomfortable and negative as what they are, because they inspired this to come forth. And I don't want to live in separation from the feelings that are uncomfortable. I want to live in full flow and full current with all the colors that life force comes through, and sit with them and lean into them take it slow with them and allow them to move and continue to create me and create whatever comes through me and whatever comes through you. So if you're interested in Moonlit Mind after hearing all of that, not just as a teaching, but if you're curious and interested, you can go to my link tree, Loved by the Water, or you can just shortcut right to my Patreon, the Patreon is Loved by the Water, and there's a membership section and a collection called specifically Moonlit Mind. And I can also mail you the zine. I have it printed in copies. So thank you for being a part of this as a witness and a receiving. And I'm feeling the full flow of it coming back to me through, whatever way we come into community with one another. Thank you.